Thursday, take 1 million. Hopefully, Rob is in a place where we can actually do the live. He's getting ready to take a trip to Houston this morning. So apparently he's got to load the car up, load his son in the car, and if you guys know anything about 12-year-old kids, getting them to move is like trying to push a stubborn mule up a hill. So just wait for Rob to jump on here and we will get things rolling. Come on, Robert. I know technology is not your friend, but you at least gotta, pretend like it is. There you are.
Hey, there we are.
And of course, now you're driving in a car. So now we're like, it's audio, and now it's hard. Like, don't crash.
Give me a second. Give me a second. We're going to get somewhere we can stop.
This is big stuff, man. This is big stuff. We're talking debt today. Talking day 4 of 5 of just 5 days of distressed sellers. Today we're talking debt.
Well, this is the main one. This is the one that you can kind of build your first deal off of probably the fastest, just because you have access to the most information.
That's where most people start.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what, when people are driving for dollars, this is what they're looking for. Like, this is what they think that they have found when it comes to, like, they see a property that they think is distressed, and they think that this person is in some sort of financial predicament.
That's right. When you see a property that's not maintained, or it looks like it's in disrepair, usually the first thought is not, oh, wow, I think that they're going through a divorce, or, oh, darn, they probably just passed away last week. It's like that they just probably don't have the money to fix it up. And that's usually the case. It's not really rocket science. See, but it's these are probably the most common distressed sellers that people are looking for, is people with debt. Pre-foreclosure is kind of included into debt. Tax delinquency is kind of included into debt. You even have people that are behind on homeowners association dues. They're included into debt.
Pretty much anybody that you owe money to that can come and essentially take your house for not having paid your bills.
Right, and
There's a ton of bills out there that you can neglect,
right.
but there's a certain
Not on your
handful
house.
of bills that will take your house.
That's right, and those are the ones that you can actually get lists of information on. So these are the people that you can actually go out there, and the one thing that is different than the others is, so when you deal with somebody that's in probate, you don't really know when that probate is going to end, and it's going to be settled. Whereas when you deal with somebody that's on a pre-foreclosure list, there's a date certain that foreclosure is going to happen. When you deal with somebody with tax delinquency, there is a date certain that is coming, in a process that you can easily explain on how they are going to have to either catch up or suffer the consequences of losing the property. And so it gives you a little bit of help in shaping the conversation towards, hey, we're here to fix your problem. We're not really here to while you empathize as a human being, you're not really there to do that. You're there more along the lines of, here's an immediate problem. We're both aware of what the problem is. Let's fix it.
Mm-hmm.
and here's the tools that I have to help you fix this problem. Explain to me what your other needs are so that we can go ahead and get this problem fixed and we can all move on.
Absolutely. So let's tell everybody. So like we're talking, like people drive around, they do the driving for dollars, but this is where a lot of the lists come from. So what list are they going to pull for this? Where are they going to pull it from?
What they would do is they'd pull a pre-foreclosure list and or a tax delinquency list.
Mm-hmm.
Or some counties, the county I live in, you can't get a tax delinquency list. You have to get the entire tax roll. And so the taxes are typically done with whoever's collecting the taxes. So in my county, it's the tax assessor collector. In other counties, it might be the appraisal district. It might be a treasurer's office.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen departments of revenue. There are different names to it, but it's really the person who's collecting the taxes. When it comes to the foreclosures, it's usually going to be um, for foreclosures because of unpaid assessments or taxes. It's usually going to be a constable or a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you'll hear the term sheriff sales kind of interspersed with foreclosure pretty freely.
Yeah.
So the sheriff's office is a good place to go ahead and look for these lists. Um, Also, with just the in Texas, the county clerk's office has to have a recording of any foreclosure that's about to be posted.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also a good place to kind of go ahead and look for it. But there are services out there that offer these lists in a fairly easy to manage format that you can buy from. Um, Sometimes if you're looking at spending less than $50 to get 400 names that are in pre-foreclosure and it's going to happen in 3 or 4 weeks. um,
You're kind of up against it when you do
yeah,
that.
you, you
You want to get
you
ahead of that.
you like to get it sooner.
Yeah.
Some places you can. A lot of the states that people are watching this in, you have several months of leeway, and you'll have
Mm-hmm.
lists or names posted in newspapers because they have to be. In Texas, you have 3 weeks, so it is a mad dash. And so if you've got 3 weeks, then you have,
Don't get caught in that rat race.
yeah, you have a lot less time than money, and you're
Because then
kind of
you're
stuck in
incurring
there.
legal, like you're incurring legal fees. I mean, you and I are kind of blessed in the sense that you're an attorney,
Hmm.
and you know you can cover your own costs in that sense. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times when you have to file a TRO, and you're not familiar. Like you can
Well,
do that yourself, but if you're not familiar with it, you are fighting an uphill battle to get a
especially
stay on that foreclosure.
especially when you get to that point. So I mean, because what Kyle's talking about, guys, is when you get to the point where you have a deal or a
Mm-hmm.
potential seller that is interested in selling you the property, but it's they come to you 2 days before foreclosure day. Well, how do you stop the foreclosure because it's got a date set on it? And there's three different ways to do it. One is getting a TRO, one is filing bankruptcy, and then the last one is, and you should always try this last one, is just ask the trustee, ask the sheriff, hey, we have an executed contract, but it can't be performed until after this date. Is there any way that you could hold this over? Um, and you'd be surprised how often that will work if
Mm-hmm.
you are genuine and honest, and they'll ask for some more information, but you just provide it.
Yep.
Um,
So the other thing too is that I know that we don't have much time left here. So
sure.
the big thing about these lists is
Hmm.
that when you get a tax delinquency list, when you get a tax roll, kind of like what we do here, they are a gold mine of information because they cover more than just tax delinquency. They cover, you can see estates, so you can see a little bit of probate on there. You can see non-owner occupied. So, when we talk about these throughout this 5 days of distressed sellers, we've got one more day left with a ton more information, but we're checking. You always want to find houses that check off multiple boxes.
Right.
And so, if you can get people that tick, it's an estate, it's non-owner occupied,
Hmm.
and they're behind in their taxes, generally that's screaming that the person that is in charge of the property really doesn't have much of a vested interest in it and probably wants to unload it.
Right. So what that does is that gives you just a, we talk about driving for dollars, but do it targeted.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about direct mail, but do it targeted. And so this is how you target, is that you have all of this information that's provided to you, and you already know that these people have debt on the property that needs to be addressed. And also with this, with knowing who's non-owner occupied, who's, you know, uh, it's now an estate and we're dealing with probate, uh, that just tells you, hey, this is my target. This is where I
Well, because
start.
it's, you get a lot of these people, like we go into these groups and we see a lot of these questions and they're like, I've made hundreds of phone calls and I haven't gotten a hold of. It's, the thing is like, I mean, I can go door to door in my neighborhood,
Hmm.
I mean, I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and there's, in the Metroplex, there's 7 million people. I mean, I can go knocking on doors all day long, but if you don't have a plan, you're going to waste a lot of time. And what
Right.
people don't realize is that, the big thing is like, oh, I want to wholesale with no money, wholesale with no money. How much is your time worth?
Right.
How much is your time worth?
Right.
If you're married, ask your wife how much your time is worth to her.
Right.
If you've got kids, ask your kids what it's like when you're not doing that stuff. There is so much people don't understand when it comes to valuing their time. I mean, we talk about it with what we do in our operation, is that we are so meticulous and we are calculated in everything that we do, and that comes with years of experience on your end. And you're just like, no, you're going to waste your time. Like, we'll run the list back in different iterations, but there are certain people who just historically you're wasting your time on. And the
Right.
thing is that you are here to help people. You
Hmm.
are not here to sit and convince someone to twist their arm to sell their home, because you are only going to run into problems. We see people running into so many problems down the line, and we'll get into it more when we talk about closing, with our ABCs of wholesaling and rehabbing. But it's, if you are just trying to force a deal through,
You can't
you're going to
force
run
a
into
deal
so
through.
many problems.
You can't force it. You can't make somebody sell a house that they don't want to sell. You can't
Mm-hmm.
make somebody work with you if they don't want to work with you. If they have a number that you cannot meet, and you've given them every logical reason, you've given them every reason that you are a better solution than what they're doing right now, and they still
Mm-hmm.
say no. At a certain point, then you have to move on, because there's always other deals out there. That's one thing that you need to learn when you're doing real estate. There's always another deal. There's going
Always
to
another
be
deal.
another deal. Do not get married to one deal, or just you get so wrapped up in it. And what winds up happening is that if you have to do a subject to lease back owner finance deal that you're going to have to turn around and get licensed to go ahead and service, you know what? If you really, really want to do it, more power to you. But honestly, there's another deal. It's a lot simpler. Just go out there and do that one.
Absolutely. That's a great way for us to wrap it up. So remember, don't get the feels on deals, because my savvy real estate investing friends, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't
Doesn't
make
make
any
sense.
sense. So until next time, guys, tomorrow we cover age, number 5 in our 5 days of distressed sellers. So if you want to get more information on debt, tax delinquency, type debt below, and we might just run this back. If you have
Hmm.
questions, drop them below. So again, if you want to hear more about debt, type debt below, and any other questions you might have, because hey, who knows, we might run this again in a couple days.
Hmm.
So until next time, my savvy real estate investing friends, make it a good one.